Anyway, sorry guys, I had to let my dogs out, and I was making sure I did the video right, and I guess I'm going to have to make this as a separate video because I don't know too much about YouTube and how to connect them, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, so they did do 3 executions while I was there. They had actually not executed somebody for a few years at Jackson because of laws and something else was going on. I'm not sure. But so the first execution, I want to say, was a woman. If I might be mistaken. I know one of them was somebody that robbed a convenience store in the early 90s and shot and killed the clerk, cold blood. And he had been on death row for 30 years, I think, or something like that. He'd been there. Most of them are there for a long time trying to get a stay on their execution, trying to get their death sentence turned over to life sentence without parole, whatever. Some do, some don't. Anyways, so when they do the executions, they come around. For some reason, it was kind of weird. Like, the execution's coming because they inform you of it like a day or two before. And about an hour before the execution starts, they wheel around these boxes to every cell house, every dorm, and they give out a Snickers bar and 2 bags of chips to every inmate. It's supposed to keep them calm during the execution or whatever. So once they start the execution, they put everybody on their bunk. There is no music going on, no TVs, no movement, no nothing. The whole prison shuts down pretty much when they do an execution. So when they do the execution, it's over. You can see out the window, 30 minutes go by, 45 minutes, and there's a line of cars, and there's a hearse that's coming to pick the body up of the person that was executed. It's a very it opens your eyes to a lot. Most people learn from their mistakes at this point, and you haven't even made it through your prison yet. After everything's said and done, you're done at Jackson. The morning that they ship you out, they call your name, you pack all your stuff up, and you go back to that same gym. You go put your mat up and, take whatever paperwork you got with you, whatever you're taking with you. And you go sit down, and they call your name one by one, and they make you all line up in this long hallway, and they call your name and tell you where you're going, what prison you're going to. And this is everything, because this means, you're either going to, a level 5 turned up prison where, murders happen once a week, or you go to a prison that's, pretty sweet. Like a lot of county camps. I don't know if you've ever heard of county camps, but the county camp is like a state prison ran by the county in certain counties, and they feed you good. You got a better place to sleep. You got outdoor details. It's just a sweeter place. And then I watched a lot of guys, first timers, never been in trouble in there for minor stuff. I mean, obviously felonies because you're in prison, but theft or possession of drugs, something like that. And they call their name and they tell them, you're going to Smith State Prison or Valdosta State Prison or Hayes or Telfair or Ware State Prison, which are some of the most turned up, dangerous prisons in the Southeast, at least that I know of. That's where all the crazy stuff happens. Like stuff you see on like the Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, like that's like the penitentiaries you get sent to. That's not where you want to go. You want to go to a county camp, or you want to go to like a not so turned up camp. And so whenever you end up going to finally the prison you're going to, which they called my name, and I went to a place called Burris Correctional Facility, which sounded very intimidating. They call it Alburris, but I get my name called to go there, and everybody's like, man, that place is sweet, and I'm terrified. I've never been to prison in my life. I don't know what to expect. So I packed my stuff up. Everybody's getting on these big buses. Everybody's waiting for the buses to show up from the prisons to pick up the inmates. And I'm waiting. And finally, like, I'm one of the last people. And when they take me, it's one of the sweetest ladies. She's this old lady. She was the guard. And she was such a sweetheart. She was so respectful, treated you like a human, which a lot of the guards there do not. They treat you like crap. So when they took me out to the gravel lot where you're supposed to get on the buses, there was a van, like a 15-passenger van, waiting on us. And I was like, well, that's weird. I thought we were going to have to get on one of these Bluebird buses, the scary, intimidating, like, drive you to hell buses. And it's this nice little white van. I'm like, okay, that's weird, but that's cool. There's only like 5 of us getting on the bus. And they take us about 30 minutes down the road and take us to this prison, and we go inside, and we go through our orientation, all that crap, take a picture, like TV shots, whatever they do there. Everywhere's different. So they take you through that, and then they finally take you to walk you around the compound to let you know where everything is, what you can do, what you can't do, where you're going to be living, Which this place was pretty sweet. It had a full library. It had a huge doctor's office. Like, they had a doctor and a dental office there. So they do a lot of extractions. They don't do surgeries or anything like that, but minor stuff, they do there. Other major stuff, they send you to like Phillips Medical Prison, and I can't remember what the other one was, but there's 2 medical prisons in Georgia. That's where they send you to get these procedures done that they can't do there. So when you walk out the doors, you're outside, like from the main building, you're outside walking to the dorms, and you're outside, and it's nothing but green grass everywhere. Inmates are walking dogs on leashes, and I'm like, wow, this place looks sweet. That's crazy. I didn't expect this. Come to find out, the inmates do a dog training program there. They train dogs to be service dogs. The very expensive dogs you buy when you need a service animal, that's where a lot of them are trained. So, there's a program there that, they train the dogs. So there's dogs walking around, which I did not expect. They take me to the dorm, open the door, and I go in the dorm, and it's like night and day. This place is wild, man. I mean, this place is crazy as hell. It's loud as hell. You got people hanging over the rails, screaming at each other. Everybody's eating, the dorm's full of smoke. People walking around with headphones on and tablets, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I go put my stuff down, and everybody came in there to introduce themselves, and I'm real weary about new people, especially inmates. You don't trust nobody in prison. I put my stuff down, and this dude comes up to me, this young kid, and he asked me if I smoked weed, and I said, yeah, why? Like, that's a random question to ask somebody in prison. He said, do you want to buy some? I said, you actually got weed in prison? And I had no idea what I was getting myself into, man. But when I had a bunch of honey buns left over from Jackson, and they wanted 2 honey buns for a stick, which is like a small joint, like a real tiny joint. Picture like the size of like a Q-tip, a joint, but it's really good. So, it smokes good. It gets you super stoned. So I bought some, and I got stoned, which was crazy to be stoned in prison, but it kind of makes you forget where you are for a while. It kind of relaxes you. Later on throughout my stay there, I realized how much drugs was actually in prison. I wasn't sure if it was every prison in the state of Georgia or just this prison, but there was drugs everywhere. I mean, meth, heroin, Xanax, of course, weed, cigarettes. Everybody's got a cell phone. A lot of people have smartphones. They give you tablets now when you go to prison in Georgia, and you can download. You have to pay for the games and the music, but you can download books, games, movies. You can write letters on it. You can email your loved ones or whatever. You can do a lot on them. It all costs money, but I mean, it's a tablet in prison. Of course it's going to cost money. A couple of inmates figured out how to hijack the software on the tablets, and you get all that stuff for free. So, but everybody had a smartphone. Well, they weren't supposed to, but obviously, like, it's prison. The guards don't care. You could give somebody 2 soups for 30 minutes on their cell phone. That's how they would hustle and make their money. And you talk on the phone with your loved ones or whatever. You can get on Facebook, and when you go to prison here, like, everybody's got a smartphone. So once you walk into that dorm and they know your name, they look you up immediately to find out what you're there for. And if you're there for any kind of crazy charges, like charges, what I mean, that involve children, or, crimes against women, or, kidnapping, stuff like that normal people don't get, you're treated a lot different at that point. You're pretty much at the mercy of all the inmates. So don't go to prison on no messed up charges like that. But long story short, man, I think I did 20 months total out of 2 years. Everybody told me I wouldn't parole out. I ended up paroling out. But before I did, I got involved with a gang in there. Was never affiliated. I did not join any gangs. So don't get that twisted. But I started getting involved with a certain gang, and they asked me if I wanted to start bringing weed and cigarettes in. And I'm like, yeah, how do I do that? You know, and everybody knows how you get stuff in from prison. I don't have to go into detail about that. You know, that's something that most people know. It's disgusting and it's messed up, but that's just the way it is in prison. It's normal. So I started bringing stuff in for these guys, and you know, you'd have to go. I had a detail outside of the prison in the free world in a DOT shop, and you know, I got to drive a zero-turn mower all day, just mowing the sides of the roads, mowing fields at ballparks and soccer fields and churches, stuff like that. And I'd be smoking my pot out there, smoking cigarettes, you know, had it pretty sweet. Well, one morning, I thought I had grabbed the wrong package that somebody left. I thought it was somebody else's. But I grabbed it anyways because I thought it was the one I was bringing in, and they bring them in these two black, like convenience store bags, and they're tied up. Well, sorry guys. Well, so I go pick my stuff up out in the yard, and I run back in real quick, and the guard is putting his boots on, so you have to be quick about it. So I put my he put his boots on, walked out there as I'm just now finishing. I got the big bag in my waistband underneath my jumpsuit. And another guy that had his stuff, had a drop, and he went out there and got it. Well, his stuff wasn't packaged right, so you could smell this pot from miles away. I mean, it reeked. There was no mistaking what it was and where it was. The guard thought it was me, so he went and snatched my jumpsuit like towards him, and that whole bag of all those packages of weed and cigarettes went all over the ground, and all of them are wrapped in black electrical tape. So they all fell out on the ground everywhere. And like I said before, I wasn't even sure that was the right bag. I was supposed to be bringing in some pot and cigarettes. People asked me to bring in other stuff like the hard drugs, and I told them no, I wasn't going to be involved in that. Needless to say, I got caught. They took me back to the dorm, or took me back to the prison, and took me in this office, and they unwrapped all the stuff I was bringing in. Thank God it was just pot and cigarettes, and it wasn't none of the hard stuff, which I thought might have been like a mistake. You know, they tell me they're going to give me free world charges, and I'm going to go to the county jail and get, you know, re-fingerprinted and charged, and got to go to court for all this. And needless to say, I only had like, I don't know, like 4 months, I think, left, and I was going to go home. I was going to max out and go home. So I was freaking out. They put me in the hole for 7 days with a disciplinary report that said that it was for unauthorized drugs, which whatever the hell that means. I don't know what authorized drugs are, but it was disauthorized drugs or whatever it was. So I finally got put back in a new dorm, which they took all my commissary. I wasn't allowed to get commissary anymore. I couldn't talk on the phone whatsoever, so my ship went down. I always used to live in the high life in that other dorm. I had cigarettes, I had pot, I had food, I had a phone whenever I needed it. I didn't have none of that stuff in the other dorm. I didn't know anybody. It sucked. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Georgia in the prison system, you do not get lunch. All you get is breakfast and dinner Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So when lunchtime comes around and you ain't got no commissary, you're starving, man. And you ain't got no money to buy food from anybody. There's nothing you can do except just starve. That went on for, I don't know, probably a week and a half. And they pulled me to the front and told me they were going to ship me to a level 5 prison because I got caught with all that pot or whatever. I was scared, man. I was freaking out because at that point, man, my parole date had already passed. My tentative parole month was the month, which is a TPM, tells you, about when you're going to go home. Mine was for October, the end of October, and here it was the beginning of January, and I have heard nothing about paroling out whatsoever. So I was freaking out, man. I just wanted to go home to my family and my daughter. That's all I wanted to do. So they tell me they're shipping me and giving me charges, so I'm freaking out, man. And the next day they called me up front, and I'm thinking, they're about to tell me to go pack my stuff to, get shipped to a level 5. I'm not going home no more. This is after a GBI prison investigator tried to get me to snitch on the people I was bringing in for, and I refused. I straight refused. I made up some names. I did whatever I could to get out of there, and he told me since I wasn't going to tell that I was going to get 20 years for bringing this into the prison or whatever. So I was freaking out, man. I was looking at some serious time. I was thinking I turned a 2-year sentence into a 20-year sentence, which is horrible. Nobody wants that. But long story short, they never came and got me. Every night I was waiting. I wouldn't sleep at night because I was waiting on them to come wake me up to tell me to pack my stuff to send me to a level 5 maximum security prison. Well, the next day after all that, me freaking out, they call me up front. And then when my counselor wants to see me, and your counselor's the one that handles all your parole stuff, you know, all your paperwork, blah, 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 etc. So I go in to talk to my counselor, and, you know, she asked me what's going on. I explained it to her, and I said, this is about me getting sent off, huh? And she said, yeah. She said, I need you to sign this paperwork. And I signed it, and there was a release date on there. And I'm like, what is this for? And she said, you're going home. I could not contain myself. Being a grown man, I hit the floor bawling like a baby. I said, please don't mess with my emotions. Am I really going home? And she said, yes, sir, you're going home. You have 10 days and you're going home. Parole just went by your sister's house and it approved for you to go there. So, you know, you're going to parole out. You'll be leaving in 10 days. You got to get your blood work drawn and your paperwork done, your clothing size, you know, fitted for the clothes they give you when you leave. And when I tell you that's probably the second best feeling you could ever have in your life is to find out you're finally going home after being locked up for a long time. And to me, 20 months is a long time. When you're in jail and in prison for that long, man, it is a long time. You forget about what it's like in the free world and you focus on, you know, what you're doing day to day. Like doing time, man, you can't ever let your time do you. Don't sit here and dread and think about all these things going on out there, what you could be doing. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what my old lady's doing. You can't worry about that stuff. You worry day to day of what's going on where you're at. That's it. You know, that's how you do your time. You just make it day to day, find a hobby, find something to do in there that, you know, takes your mind off of stuff for a while. You get used to it, believe it or not. You get institutionalized. So after that 10 days, man, they called me. I was up all night the night before I was supposed to go home. And usually people, the next shift guard comes in at 4 or 5 to relieve the other guard in the morning at 4 or 5 a.m. And the guard that's leaving to go up front to go home usually walks the people that are being released up to the front to put them in a holding cell. They never came and got me. So I was freaking out, man. They finally let us out of our cells, and I went and talked to the lady guard that was in the booth, and she was mean as hell, man. She kept telling me, go back to your cell. You're not going home, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you better call somebody up front. I'm supposed to go home today. I'm not going to leave this door and this window until you call somebody up front. And so she finally called somebody, and she's like, yes, sir, I apologize. You are going home. They're going to come get you right now. And they walked me up front, put me in a holding cell. They give you one last haircut. They do your paperwork, and you hear over the radio what families are pulling up in the parking lot, who they're here for. So there was like 3 of us getting released, and the 2 other people got released, and I heard them come on and say my mom's car was out front. I could not hold my composure, man. I was trying not to tear up, but it's one of the most amazing feelings in the world, knowing your family's out there waiting on you. It's something a lot of people don't have. So when I left, they finally let me out front. A guard walks you to the first gate that you have to go out of, and there's a bunch of lifers, which that means people doing life without parole, out there working in the garden and the grounds, and, you know, telling me, hey, you going home, man, don't come back. I'd do anything to be in your shoes. And it made me realize how grateful I was to be going home. And they make you walk this long road by yourself all the way, and once you top the top of the road, you can see the parking lot, and there was my sister and my mama there waiting on me, man. And when I say I ran faster than I've ever ran in my life to them, I'm not joking. I went up there and I cried like a baby. I cried. My mom cried. My sister cried. It was the most absolute #1 most amazing feeling you could ever possibly have in your life, is to get released from prison. People that have been to jail and done a week or 2 in jail, it feels great to get out doing that. But when you've been locked up for almost 2 years straight from the free world, barely had contact with anybody, and you get set free, it's a wild feeling. It's very surreal. It feels like a dream, and you're waiting on them to come get you and tell you it was a mistake to put you back in prison, but they didn't. You know, and we ended up going to Dunkin' Donuts, and, you know, I went inside, and it felt so weird to the point where I had to go wait in the car because I was around, there was too many people. I was sketched out, you know. People that have been to prison and gotten out after doing a while know what I mean. The institutionalization stays with you for a long time, and you finally start integrating yourself back into society, and stuff starts seeming more normal. You know, when you're in the grocery store, you're waiting on somebody to tell you what to do or where to go, or, you know, it's hard to explain, but it's crazy, but it's not something you ever want to go through, anybody on here. So I hope that this video helps some people. Maybe, you know, maybe you went to prison, or you're going to prison in Georgia, or you've got a loved one that's about to go through the prison system or already has, or they're likely going to be sentenced to prison. I hope that you can listen to this video and give them some pointers on what to do and what not to do when you get to Jackson and when you go to prison. I hope this helps. And again, make sure you or your loved ones know that when you go to Jackson, even if you got $1,000 on your books to be able to buy commissary, do not spend more than $20 on commissary for your food and your items, because you will get robbed and you will get stabbed for that stuff. You cannot flaunt that you have money whatsoever. Keep it small. Once you know, at Jackson, you keep it small. Order $20 worth of store and mind to yourself. Don't mess with nobody. Once you get to the camp or the prison you're going to after Jackson, you can, order what you want. You can order $300 worth of food. Nobody's going to try you up most of the time, depending on where you are. So, but anyways, just letting everybody know how it is, and at least what I went through. Maybe everybody's situation is different, but that was mine. So if you guys have any questions, you can comment, and I appreciate you listening and taking the time to watch my video. And if you guys have any questions, again, just comment me. Thank you so much, guys, and have a blessed day.